This is the Financially Simple Podcast, a show dedicated to destroying the complexities of money for today's small business owner. And now, here's your host, pizza-loving, certified financial planner, Justin Goodbread.
Welcome to Financially Simple. This is a finance show for small business owners about money, how it works in our business and our personal lives, and how we can build wealth to be financially independent. I'm your host, Justin Goodbread, and today is episode number 15. And don't forget, we're in our quest here. We're building a plan on how to start a business and sell it within a very short period of time. And today we're dealing with an episode I'm titling, Don't Share the Corn Seed. And you're like, what? So there's an old farming story, which goes something like this. I heard this many years ago. I don't remember where I picked it up, but it's forever stuck in my mind. And it goes like this. Every year at the county fair, the old farmer, and you know what I'm talking about, it's the guy that's wearing the overalls, has a cowboy hat on, or maybe even a ball cap, and just an good old country boy. Well, this old farmer, every year at the county fair, would win the corn competition. He would always get the blue ribbon. If you know anything about county fairs, the blue ribbon is where it's at. I mean, everybody wants to win the blue ribbon, hands down. So every year this farmer would win the blue ribbon. His corn was so sweet. I don't know if you've ever had corn like this. I mean, you can walk out into the corn patch, if you have a small one, or out into the field, get a good old ripe piece of corn off, an ear of corn off the stalk, peel it back a little bit, start shucking it, and just bite into it, and it's like, a piece of heaven. That's what this farmer had. I mean, you didn't have to throw butter on there or salt or whatever it is you put on your corn. No, this stuff was just awesome, hands down. And every year, his neighbors, this farmer's neighbors, would come in second place. And after a period of time, the old neighbors, many of them around, got kind of aggravated at this old farmer. So after a couple of years, the neighbors had enough. They'd had enough. They all got together and they came up to the old farmer at his house one day and they're like, look, man, how in the world is it every year your corn beats ours? And they began naming the neighbors who were around, Billy Bob over here, his farm, his corn patch butts up right against yours. And Sally, her corn patch butts against yours, and so forth, so on. Everybody around whose land touched the farmer's land, they're like, man, how is it that your little piece of property produces so much better corn than ours? Again, teasing and everything, and the old farmer just kind of sat back and started laughing and smiling, and he said, well, you guys are the one who helps me win. And they're like, what? He goes, no, seriously, every year you guys are the ones who help me win. And his neighbors at this point are confused, right? And so then went on to say, look, after the competition at the fair every year, what do? Do I not come around, and this old farmer's talking, he goes, do I not come around and give you my winning seed? Every year I bring you guys the seed off the corn that I just won the fair with. I give you enough that you can plant your own gardens. And everybody's like, well, yeah, we just thought you had more than enough because your gardens did so well and we wanted to plant it. He said, no, you're missing the point. Only by having the corn that is the highest quality planted all around me can the cross-pollination work in such a way that my corn every year is that much better. If you guys wouldn't plant the winning corn around me, then I would actually lose quality in my corn. Now, my agriculture degree, some of you know I have one, tells me there's much more to the story than that. But I think you get the gist of the story, right? So here's the application in business. We cannot train our employees to be the competitor's workforce. And we can't train our competition. So we can't share in our business. We cannot go out and give our competition our best corn. Or in this analogy, we can't go out to our neighbors or our competition and give them our best employees. I mean, that would be ludicrous. Who in their right mind would train employees to go out and start another business to compete with them, or go and fill a position at a neighboring company, which then creates even more competition? But yet, so many people I hear lose good quality employees to these exact things. Like any small business, I was at a point one time where I was sharing my need to hire an employee on Facebook with my closest friends. And, maybe you post your job hires out there on Facebook, maybe you don't. But in this case, I was looking for a top-notch position. And sure enough, one of my friends came in, they said, hey, so-and-so needs a job. And it seemed like from the onset that this particular person may be a good candidate. So I'm interviewing the candidate, and one of the questions I asked, hey, where do you see yourself in a couple of years? And this particular applicant told me, hands down in the meeting, yeah, I've always wanted to start my own business, and I thought working with you would give me enough information to go out and start my own business one day. Now, if you're a business owner, instantly that's like, no, I'm not hiring you. I mean, that's a hands down not hiring you. But I guess I'm too nice, so I said, well, tell me about it. What type of business are you thinking about hiring? Instantly the guy says, well, a wealth management firm, kind of like you. I want to work with small business owners like you. And in the back of my head, I'm going, are you serious? You're going to come in and interview with me for me to teach you how to go out and be the competition? Yeah, I was born at night, just not last night, buddy. I recently witnessed something very similar to this happen. I know some good CPAs. I work with CPAs all over the country, and CPAs are great at tax work. Sometimes their business skills are lacking. And this one particular CPA is a good friend of mine. This CPA had hired a younger CPA. Actually, this individual wasn't a CPA when he hired him. And this other individual eventually earned the designation, became a CPA as well. And before you know it, the younger CPA left and took a large number of clients with them. Yeah, I can remember the day all that turmoil went. And, you don't want to get into the who's right, who's wrong. Inevitably, though, it goes back to the point. What are we to do? What are we to do? Are we supposed to be so exclusive that we don't tell anybody, or so secretive that we don't tell any of our team the big picture about what we're trying to accomplish? Or do we just, give the farm away, so to speak? Do we just train the employees and let them continue to leave, almost like there's a revolving door in our office? I mean, I actually have one friend whose attitude is, I hate employees. I mean, I've heard him say it 1,000 times. I hate employees. I hate employees. I mean, seriously, that's no way we want to run our businesses, is it? Friends, there's a way to build a company of your dreams. And there's a way to build an awesome team, which pulls just as hard as you do. Well, how do we do it? You ever heard the expression fear and greed? It's been my experience that people are motivated by either fear or greed. The insurance world is built completely on fear. We're afraid of something happening, thus we insure the risk. Opposite of that, the investment world is almost built on greed. Greed in the sense that we want to make more, earn more. I mean, who was it? Michael Douglas in his iconic act where he says, greed is good. Employees are also motivated by fear and greed. They want to earn more, thus the greed, but they're fearful of the things which prevent them from earning more. There's the fear. Have you ever heard this? The old carrot and the stick, right? Have you ever dealt with a donkey? They are some of the most stubborn and loud animals God ever created. In fact, at my house, I can walk on the front porch and hear a donkey bellow out almost any day of the week. And the closest one, I think, as the crow flies, is like a half mile away. I mean, friends, these things are loud. As loud as they are that much stubborn. Growing up, I had a friend who had a donkey. And this donkey, if it didn't want to do something, it was not going to do it. If you wanted him to go right and he didn't want to, he was going to turn left, turn sideways, do handstands, whatever it was to keep from going the direction you want to go. Well, one day my friend tried to get the donkey to go in the barn. And after about 5 minutes of fussing with his donkey, he had enough and he went and grabbed 2 sticks. Now, on one stick, he had just tied a bunch of sweet greens. I don't remember if they were like turnips or mustard or if they were spinach. I don't know. I just remember they were greens that he had tied on the end of it with a string. And yeah, I know in the cartoons they're typically like carrots, I think. But in this case, he had a thing of sweet greens. The other stick was much larger and much longer. And my friend took the stick that had the greens hanging off of the string and put it just in front of the donkey's nose so it could get a whiff of that delicious green. And the donkey then kind of curled his lips out and tried to grab the greens. And as he was trying to curl his lips out and grab the greens, my friend would just move it slightly away and keep it just slightly out of the donkey's reach. And the donkey would begin walking, trying to get the greens, and thus he would lead the donkey in the right direction. Well, through this activity, though, the donkey inevitably caught on. They're not a dumb creature. They're pretty smart. He caught on what was happening, and it began to turn the opposite direction. And that much larger, much longer stick that did not have the greens tied to it, it was used as a gentle reminder to put the donkey back in the right direction. And thus, the donkey began to follow the sweet greens again. Friends, we can use fear and greed in our business, and we can use the treat tied to the stick and the stick in our business. So let's first deal with the greed or the sweet greens that I'm putting in this story. Last episode, episode 14, I spent a majority of the time talking about how to benefit your employees for that big paycheck. If you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to episode 14. That is an iconic definition of the greed that employees would want. How other way could you incentivize a team than with a big paycheck at the time your business sells? That is some sweet greens, if you will. Another way that we can do this, though, outside of that big paycheck, is use a little bit more instant gratification. Yeah, we may be planning to sell the company out 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now, but many of our employees are not going to stay with us, if you will, for that 10-year period unless they have an idea on maybe some little bit of treats along the way. My friend who was leading the donkey into the barn eventually let the donkey taste a little bit of the greens. And that just motivated the donkey to follow him the rest of the way into the barn. Friends, we can do the same thing in our business. We can do things with the greed factor or by enticement with that sweet greens, that carrot on the stick, if you will, through things like recognition. If you have an employee who does a good job, reward them openly. Give them gifts. I'm not talking about the participation, political stance or participation trophy. No, I'm talking about somebody who's done a good job. I know whenever I've done a good job, just to hear someone say, man, that's a good job, real good job. I know whenever we work with clients, I love it. At Christmas time, we had a lot of them happen where people would say, it's been a great year. Thank you for all you've done. That just makes you feel good. Yeah, who doesn't want a big paycheck one day? But man, just feeling good about what you did, your employees have the same makeup. They want to hear that as well. Another way you can use is fringe benefits. Benefits like healthcare. I've got a client, a friend who's a very good friend. What he does for his employees is he provides them an unbelievable health insurance program. I'm talking about a health insurance program that I've never seen before. And in his marketplace, it attracts some high-end clientele. It really does. He's able to provide a benefit that very few other businesses are even willing to take on. And as such, that fringe benefit rewards his employees. There's the greed again. You may also do something like an annual reward. I had a dentist friend of mine. He told his team the minute they broke over a certain level of production within his office that he was going to do a trip. And sure enough, they did. And he took the whole office and their families on a trip. I believe it was a ski trip, and they went out skiing. Now, they did some continuing education and things like that, but nonetheless, it was a nice reward as a recognition, almost like a fringe benefits here. You can also reward your employees monetarily. Well, Justin, I'm already paying them pretty good. Yeah, I get that. But you can do little things like a 401k match, may do some profit sharing on the years that are just outstanding. I know some friends and some clients who they just pay outstanding Christmas bonuses. Sometimes the Christmas bonuses are earned, sometimes they're unmerited or unneeded, but nonetheless, he's doing some things to add value, to give that sweetness, that greed factor with the employees. Perhaps we all can work on this last one, and that is to provide an outstanding work environment. It doesn't always have to be time or money or whatever. It can just be creating such an attitude in the workplace that people just like to show up, just like to come to work and enjoy it. Who wants to work in a mully grub style environment? Who wants to work in an environment that the boss is always out for somebody's head? Like off with their head. No one wants to do that. We all want to be fulfilled. We want to go in. Your employees are no different. What are you doing or what can you do in your business that will entice your employees to start walking in the direction that you want to walk in? Or what are you doing in your business that can hit that greed factor for your employees?
You are listening to Financially Simple, destroying the complexities of money for today's small business owner.
Not just the greed, we also have the fear. And like my farmer friend, he had a stick, right? There's some popular things that we can use like the stick to kind of keep our employees in line as well. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm not a very hostile person. I'm kind of laid back, easygoing. I'm intense. But man, I just like to have a good time. I always say life is too short. And I really don't like to threaten people, and I don't like to be threatened. But if you use these sticks correctly, it can be used as a gentle reminder to corral people in the right direction, just like that donkey. Now, am I saying your employees are donkeys? By no means, no. Don't put that words in my mouth. But what about this? Things like probably the most popular is a non-compete agreement. A non-compete keeps your employees from working with your competition, or it keeps your employees from going out and taking the knowledge that you're training them and starting their own business. Do they always work? No, not always. There's some courts, and I've dealt with this firsthand. There's some courts that just don't support non-compete agreements, and there's some judges that don't support them. On the other hand, there's some courts who do support non-compete agreements, and there's some judges who will honor the letter of the law and read the non-compete agreement and follow it. At this point, I'm going to tell you to work with your legal team. They can tell you the pros and cons of your jurisdiction. But one thing that does help, and I've seen this firsthand, is that employees who are bound by a non-compete agreement do not want to get into legal throes with their former or current employer. They don't want to get into a legal fight. I've seen former employees so scared of the non-compete, not that the judge is going to enforce it, the court's going to enforce it, but so scared that they did not want to get involved in legal conflict, they just stayed away. Even though the court system in your jurisdiction may or may not uphold them, non-competes work in the fact that it does give you a little bit of a stick that you can use in the event one of your team members or one of your employees tries to go out and compete against you. That's probably the most popular one. Another popular one is a non-solicit agreement. Now, you typically see these when you're dealing with salespeople who have to solicit for new customers, but you may also see them with the vendors. So a non-solicit agreement keeps the employees or the vendor away from soliciting either your customers or your employee base. So I've seen non-solicits work all over the United States different ways. And again, this is a consult with your legal advisor. They can tell you exactly what you need and what you don't. But a non-solicit agreement may give you another stick that you can use with your employees and or in some cases your vendors. A confidentiality agreement is something that I have to use in my office. I strongly believe in them. Basically, it keeps your secrets secret. Your customer list, your processes, things like your secret ingredient. Whenever I was thinking about this, I said, KFC, the herbs and spices, right? Or Coke's special ingredient in Coca-Cola. Or like I was just watched a commercial the other day of Bush's baked beans. There's secret ingredients, right? For some reason, I just realized I just used all food. Maybe I'm hungry. Although a Coca-Cola, some fried chicken, and a baked beans, let me tell you, that right there might make your tongue beat your brains out. That's some good stuff right there. But no, nonetheless, you get what I'm saying. Confidentiality agreements keep the things that you want secret. And such shall break those confidentiality agreements, the courts typically will uphold those. Now, you're going to have to fight some legal battles, but it's just another stick, if you will. I recently had a client that had some pretty heavy computer restrictions in place. He required all of his salespeople to use his company cell phones and his company computers. And the idea behind that is that should his salespeople get recruited, if you will, by some of his competition, he would have all the data pulled back from that individual in an archive standpoint. Now, is it foolproof? No, it's not. But it's another way, again, that you can use a stick. Guys, look, here's the deal. We all want to build a strong team of employees who have our back. And there's a really, really, really fine line between greed and fear. There's a really fine line between those sweet greens that my friend was holding up in front of the donkey and the stick. But we can build a company which employees desire to want to work at and stay at. We can build a solid retention within our employee base. Now, it's not going to happen on accident. No, by no means. We're going to have to work hard and constantly tweak and monitor it. But I bring this out because in our business, in our quest to try to sell our business, we are going to get a better evaluation standpoint if we have a team of long-standing tenure and a well-defined process to where the buyer, when they look at, well, what's your benefit reward? How long has your team been there? What is your revenue? And this is not the end-all, be-all. No, every episode that we're dealing with here is just one little part. And as a whole, it adds to the better value for our business. The last thing that would hurt us is if we had a business and we had high employee turnover. That would not be good. From a buyer's perspective, think about it. If you looked at a business and you had employees that didn't want to be there, and all of a sudden you buy it, what would happen if all those employees left instantly the minute you bought it? You would lose a business, if not a majority, and you probably wouldn't pay top dollar for that business. On the other hand, if you had a business which was treating its employees the way that we would want to be treated as the owners, if we were in the employees, if you had a business which had clearly defined bonus schedules and clearly defined fringe benefits and clearly defined sticks, so to speak, to keep our employees from leaving and harming the future buyer, my friend, that's a business which will bring top dollar. So if we build this area of our business correctly, the way we treat employees correctly, it will add to the value of your business. It just will. Now, is it going to add a lot? I don't know. It depends on the type of business, but it will add value nonetheless. So guys, I don't think it's a fear or greed. I think it's a fear and greed that works with our employees. I don't think, just like that donkey leading into the barn, I don't think it's the stick along with the sweet greens hanging from the string. You're going to have the other stick in your other hand to remind the donkey which way to walk. With the employees, it's the same way. You're going to have to be kind and gentle and have the right benefit, the right greed factor in there for the employees. Customize for each one of your employees, perhaps even. But you're also going to have to protect yourself. You're going to have a big stick. And the larger the stick, the bigger the greed. If you have a lot of things in there to protect you, you're going to want to make sure you offset that with enough on the other side to benefit the employee. After all, if we don't treat our employees correctly, our customers are going to know it, the potential buyer is going to know it, and we're going to ultimately end up with a revolving door going in and out of our business, and we're going to waste so much time and money and resources constantly having to recruit and train. So guys, that's it for episode number 15. How is your employee relations? That's my challenge to you. Fear or greed? Use them both. Challenge me on this. Maybe I'm wrong. Shoot me an instant message somewhere. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. You can find me everywhere. Shoot me a message. Tell me your thoughts on this one. Guys, that's it for this episode 15. Yeah, I know. Life is hard. Life is complicated. Business can be frustrating. Employees, they can make us or break us. One thing is true. We just need to continue to make our lives, at least financially, simple. Hey, y'all make it a great day.
You have been listening to the Financially Simple podcast. The information in this show is for informational purposes only. This show is not investment advice. Instead, seek help from a competent financial advisor. Justin Goodbread, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Heritage Investors, a registered investment advisor.